that with the length of your arms. So what is this now? You are consent to sharing your effort. Got it. Let me say got it. Okay. All right. Okay. So here we are. Should I hold up one of these pictures?
Oh, sure. Well, here, I'm Sylvia, and I'm here with Carla de Sola again to share a dance and share the memories of the creation and the performance of that dance over the years. And Carla and I were just talking about, um, you know, the the struggles in the world. Today, it's the struggles between Israel and Palestine, and the image that Carla shared was that the role of the Christian is, I can't get far enough from my screen for you to see, but is the shape of the passion, the shape of the cross with arms reaching out to connect with both sides, to connect with all sides.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
so,
It
and so
seems so.
today we're going to share
And the
a
heart
dance.
is in the middle, right? And the heart is there in the middle, streaming out, streaming out. This is a favorite picture of mine. The Passion According to Mary was done in the 1970s. Um, I had met Greg Reynolds. He would then, before he died, he wanted to be called Christopher Reynolds. But Greg Reynolds is how we knew him. And I had met him at a liturgy right near Columbia, I've forgotten, run by Jesuits or something. And I knew he was a dancer from the uh, Paul Taylor Dance Company. And he wanted to do a dance of the Passion and asked if I would do it. He knew I was a trained dancer with him. And we spent hours and hours and hours in my studio. He was exact to every single count. He was a very exacting person. But I wanted to show you this picture and talk a little bit about the dance. It meant an enormous amount to the company and was learned by successive dancers in different ways. Um, this is, can
Mm.
you see that? Greg is down there. I have
Mm.
pictures of other people too, but this is Greg. Let me just sort of turn that. This is me in the role. He had me dressed as a nun. I objected to that a bit, but then I got to like it and understand it here. It was okay. Let me put this down. Just while we're sharing pictures. Oh, this is one I think this appeared at Dance Magazine. I'm not sure as a cover, but it's just me doing one of his movements there. Um, Here's with David McCauley, who is currently in my life very much as a helper in all kinds of ways and dancer, and Christine Self, who danced with us quite a while ago, who was with San Francisco Ballet and a beautiful dancer. Um, okay, but what I wanted to do is actually read some notes, if that's okay, on it here.
Absolutely.
Um, One of the dances that has been in my life for a long, long time was created in the 70s by Greg Reynolds for the Omega Liturgical Dance Company. It's called A Passion According to Mary. It's been performed many times. The whole piece is a 40-minute piece. What we actually do now, when I'm writing this, is either a 5-minute solo that was performed by me for a long time, or a 8-minute closing duet between Jesus and his mother Mary. For a long time, it was myself and Christopher, Greg Reynolds, as Mary and Jesus, but it has now been taught to many people. This is Greg's concept of the dance. It came after a trip he took with the Paul Winter Company to Russia, where he saw a statue of Mother Mary. This is what he wrote. The excerpt that we usually perform is called Fantasy, Mother and Child. Mary deeply identifies with Jesus and expresses his suffering in full. Overwhelmed with grief, she becomes disoriented, even remembering Jesus as a baby in her arms as she moves in and out of the horrors of crucifixion. Christopher, as he became known, that is Greg, was greatly drawn to Mary and felt her to be a mother of mercy and compassion, suffering with all her children. It has been in the repertory of Omega for many years, and then in the repertory of the Omega West Dance Company since the passing of Greg in the 90s. The music is from the St. Matthew Passion of Bach. The duet is set to the aria Embalmedic, and he based the piece on Grunewald's painting of the crucifix, which has many distorted images. Jesus' mother and St. John are either, we don't have that, no, it is, it had beautiful imaginative moments until finally in reverse image of the Pietà, at one point, Jesus lifts Mary. She is over his shoulders, hanging there. As he trod through the crucifixion, she is draped over his shoulders. Then she is gently lowered, and he rocks her as she had rocked him earlier in the dance. In the more traditional Pietà, there's this moving in and out of roles during the Passion time. Okay, that was what he had written, and he had a kind of tragic life. He died in poverty in Harlem, East Harlem, and I know I went and did the solo for his funeral. But it was a very demanding dance, and the whole 40 minutes involved Mary and Elizabeth and many other things. But we finally just did the solo into the duet. There was Judas, and all kinds of things in the 40-minute dance. Okay, well, I will never forget Christopher Reynolds.
Beautiful. And with that, let's watch the piece, and perhaps some other memories will come up from you or from me. I also had the honor of learning and
yes, oh, you would have been wonderful. What are we seeing in the piece? I've forgotten now.
I think it's both the solo and the duet.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Let me make sure I click all the correct buttons to get good sound and good video. Okay. Go.
Are you seeing here the stuff that's on my screen? All kinds of stuff.
I think so. I just need to make our video full screen.
Oh, so. Good. Mm.
Okay, here we go.
That's Christine's self. Not myself. She's too tall. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Whew, that's a lot to remember. I hadn't watched it before. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
really?
Uh,
I realized in watching it that I've never done the solo, just the duet.
uh, for the solo, it was hard to look at that because you didn't see from the video, I felt you didn't see quite the intensity of it. But I know I had to, for a long time, everyone was counting one and then two and three. I was counting at the same time. It's a sort of this meditation. Each count became an important sacred moment. And it was just counting. It was just as simple things, but it was the intensity of the images that that I had in my mind that he gave me of what she's seeing, the scene, or is it the way of the cross? I'm not sure exactly at the moment what it was. Um, and the beating of the chest and the crown of thorns and um, of course the scourging. When we did it, the original time when we did it, Christopher had was wearing just black tights and nothing on top. He was bare chested. We did it once at a church, and that was just too much for one of the priests. And so we had on pants and then gradually to have a top on also. But originally it was much more stark with just the bare chest and
Yeah.
tights.
In a way, what a pity that that would cause offense, because you know what does cause offense? The crucifixion. It should cause offense,
It
right?
should. Yeah,
And
it's a
to
wonderful
and
point.
to and to domesticate it, or to recoil from our own discomfort and try to make ourselves
Yes.
more comfortable is not exactly a faithful response to the invitation of the passion.
Yeah, yeah. I guess because it was a public service in the church, it was the main liturgy. But I agree with you. I agree
It
with
doesn't
you.
surprise me, but yeah,
Hmm,
there
hmm,
is a
hmm,
I am
hmm.
disappointed by how often the church reverts to comfort, um,
Yes, yes.
rather
And this
than
is
conversion.
And this is such a changing of roles from Mary
Oh,
and Jesus back. In the end, I know Christopher was says it's as if she looks and she looks front and what did I see? Did this really happen? She's looking at him and turning front. What is happening? What did I see? You
yeah,
know, I know it was very moving to me when I was draped over his shoulders. Maybe it was for you too. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
um, carrying her and then rocking her. Uh, um, he becomes a little baby in her arms, you know, but he's rocking her. So it's a back and forth of the deep sharing of the love of mother and child, you know.
yeah. Not to make a comparison, or to that it minimizes, which in a way it does. But for me as a dancer, personally, it was a important piece to dance, or to give some context for my experience. I had a series of miscarriages between my first child and my middle child, and had the opportunity to dance that passion dance a number of Good Fridays during that season. And as I was trying, that was my personal point of connection of the kind of grief or anguish of losing a child, which granted isn't quite the same as Mary's anguish
Oh
at the
no, but oh,
crucifixion,
that's
but
beautiful,
it mattered
Sylvia.
a lot to me, right? To feel like there was some kind of
You could
way
you had a
that
container for your grief
exactly,
and passion,
exactly.
your passion. Oh, that's beautiful to hear. I'm glad you shared that. No, I can't say I had that. I know, yeah, that's beautiful. I know this was the first time I had worked with someone like this. And I was just so nervous of every count, every count. He was a taskmaster, you know. And it's a long dance and many counts.
Yes. Well, it definitely seems like one of the most technical pieces in Omega's repertoire,
It is,
right?
it
That
is.
like you really
Long
have to have a
extensions.
very accomplished dancer. And it really is, I mean, it's kind of beautiful to imagine it with the Grunewald, you know, uh,
Those,
altar piece, because in a sense it has that same kind of technical expertise that you think of, like must have gone into crafting, the marble statue in the cathedral, that there are things that are more homegrown, or that's, is, and then there are things that are so carefully crafted by masters. And I feel like this piece is kind of in that category.
yes, yes, it is. It is. It is Greg's signature piece. And I don't remember if he did much after he left the Paul Winter, not Paul Winter, I'm sorry, Paul Taylor Company. But I always thought this is diverting, maybe, that he was such a taskmaster that Paul Taylor must have been. He must have learned from him. But I had never worked with Paul Taylor. I don't know, but he really was. Every single count had to be just so, and with just the right inner understanding of it all. Um, and he lived a passion in his way as discriminated against black dancer artists in poverty.
Mm.
You
Beautiful piece,
know.
and I commend it to people to kind of put in their personal library for both reflection, every Good Friday, but also, what a beautiful piece when you're in that place of not knowing how to pray, when you're watching the news and imagine and seeing the mothers whose children are being, bombed or this
Oh,
or that, and to just bring up this video as a way of praying with Mary, with every mother who has suffered the loss of a child,
yes.
and to
Oh,
just
that's very
join
good. Oh,
our own
beautiful, Sylvia. Because there
passion.
are no words to express it, but movement can.
Yeah,
And what we don't see in this tape, because a lot of it is a little blurry and stuff, is enough of the contraction. I think it's because of being in black,
yeah,
but the contractions all the way through. I mean, a contraction is the center part, just pulling in. Um, and the piece is full of contractions. And so it is a container for the mothers right now in
yeah.
Israel and Gaza. Golly. Yes.
I wonder maybe if you come to Albuquerque in the spring again, or it would be really neat to have you reteach me or another dancer and actually videotape the teaching of it, because it's the kind of piece that you wouldn't want someone to learn just from a video, because again,
No. Oh, but
so many of the details are lost, and yet I should hate for this piece not to continue to be incarnated in successive generations of dancers. And so that's something for us to think about.
yes, it is. It's quite a task that you're giving me, of course, to remember it well enough. But the video is there. And it
Yeah.
reminds me now that I mentioned I was doing this to someone, I think one of Omega back east. I'm not sure now. And she said, maybe it was Sandra Rivera. She said, but I'd like to be part of your sessions.
Yeah.
I'd like
Oh,
to be right there. And I said, well, let me ask Sylvia. I don't think she's ever done the Passion. It needs someone, I guess, with, well, as I said, Christine Self had been with the, San Francisco Ballet, so she had a beautiful penché and all that kind of thing. Um, but let's think about it. I haven't thought what the next piece should be. I thought I would, but I looked and I didn't see one in the one we had. Let me
well,
just
let's
see if I,
let's go ahead and wrap up this video. So I'll
yes.
go ahead and stop the live stream for